Good morning, Dan. Did you happen to get my email just a moment ago? This is Carolyn Grace.
Hi, Carolyn. No, I did not get a chance to check that. So,
Okay. If you have a moment, or I guess I can ask, I am with Howard Evelson, my board chair, and we are logged in as me on my computer as he doesn't have access from home. And so without loading his email and things onto my computer, is it possible to allow him to vote on such from mine? He'll be here alone in the conference room for the next couple hours.
I will defer to Jerry on that.
Oh, okay. And for some reason, my camera is not working, Jerry. I'm very sorry. But Howard is here and he is my board chair.
Yeah, I think that's fine. You can, however you can work it out between you, as long as we know, as long as Nancy knows what the arrangements are. Good morning, everyone. Jerry Miller, president of MACD. I call the meeting of the annual meeting of the Michigan Association of Conservation Districts to order at 9:01 a.m. on Monday, December 13th. We have two of our champions on this morning, and the first one is Senator Roger Victory. Senator Victory represents District 30. He's located in Hudsonville in Ottawa County. And Senator Victory, thank you for taking time from your schedule to join us this morning and share comments with the directors and staff of the Michigan Association.
Well, Gerald, it's good to join you and with all the other members here on the Zoom meeting. And hopefully in another year, we might be able to do this more in person at times. So we're looking forward to that. But in the meantime, we're going to use our precautions and keeping in mind, stay healthy and stay safe out there. I wanted to just really appreciate the opportunity. I've been working with the conservation districts over my past years in the House and now in the Senate. And also realizing the money requirements are for what we need to do. And as we able in this budget process, finally get across that hurdle and get some dollars into the conservation districts. So with that there, with your hard work and our also our colleagues in the House and on the Senate side, navigate that through. Now I place a challenge upon each of you out there to use those dollars and let us know how these dollars are being effective and how these dollars are, multiplying returns to us at the state level. And because as we go forward, there's no guaranteeing of these dollars continuing, but if you can show us the results of these dollars and articulate that and bring that forward, that makes our lift a lot easier. I know Representative Hood is on the call here too. She knows firsthand of that there because there's always a lot of requests for these dollars. But the work of the conservation districts, it helps our environment, helps our quality of water. It's just a whole host of good things that we can do with these dollars. But just please make sure if you can encapsulate the work that you're dealing with and how that's affecting your local community, but the state overall and the betterment of it, that would be fantastic.
Great. Thank you, Senator. And I failed to mention Senator Victory is the chair of the Senate Ag Appropriations Committee, and he and his committee got the allocation for $3 million in their budget early on. So we really appreciate your leadership and your committee, Senator, for getting that in your budget and then having the full Senate approve the allocation of the $3 million. Are there quick, do you have a minute or two for a quick question?
Yes, please go. I'm open for some questions here since I laid the challenge out to the members. Now they can challenge me.
No. So if you have directors or staff, if you have a question, put it in the chat or I ask to raise your hand from the computer and we'll provide you an opportunity to communicate with Senator Victory. Anyone?
Yep. Gerald, while we're waiting for any questions so they come through, just want to remind the participants, these dollars are coming through the MDAR budget. And in that budget, there's very little discretionary money or GF dollars available. So when we're talking $3 million, that is a really heavy lift for that department to come up with those dollars compared to some other areas in the budget. 3 million is just a rounding error, but when we talk 3 million in the MDAR budget, that is a major lift. So I just want to make sure that's why I lay that challenge out there to see what kind of returns we are getting for that, and that way we can hopefully keep that as a line item in the MDAR budget.
Yes, and Senator, we're aware that 2 million of that is ongoing, and as we understand it, 1 million came out of the American Rescue Fund. So we know that we have a challenge to continue to work with you and your colleagues and locally with all the legislators to not only keep the 2 million of ongoing in the budget, but also getting that 1 million or more from the American Rescue Fund, since that, as we understand, that's a one-time fund. So we have our challenges, and we definitely hope that you and your committee and other legislators can help to provide the leadership to, as we go forward and work on the FY23 budget. So challenges are always there, Senator. Yeah, we think we have something in the chat. Let me see that chat. The question, Senator, from one of our board members over on the east side of the state says, is there any chance to change the Open Meeting Act to allow for virtual meetings? This would help to bring more participants into what districts are doing. And this is a question, Senator, but the background on that is that we have districts that, because they're co-located in NRCS rules on meeting in person, they are meeting at other locations. And so, as you know, the Open Meeting Act, unless there's a local declaration of emergency, then they cannot meet with in person.
Yeah, Gerald, that is a great question, because not other organizations have brought that forward, and that is, we're reviewing that with all the other hosts of things, lessons learned from COVID. We want to make sure that if some action did take on it, what are the unintended consequences of it? But there's some strong feelings on both sides when you discuss this among members. But I've always been one to, if we can get more participation, especially in some groups for board members, for them willing to serve, we might be able to bring a better talent, not saying with your group here, but with some other groups, bringing the best and brightest forward and facilitating that meeting time. I think that's also a plus. So that's part of the equation. So that is on the radar screen. So thank you for highlighting that. I'll pay attention to that too.
And later on in our meeting today, we have a resolution that we will address that basically ask the legislature to consider modifying the open meeting law. So that.
Yep, Gerald, if that resolution is passed, just please forward that to my office and other offices too. That would be appreciated.
Okay, we'll do that. Thank you. Other questions for the senator? Here's a question again from one of your neighbors just to the north of you, Senator. What is the best way to make sure the information gets back to you? And I think maybe you just answered that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, keep in close contact with our office. Mike Wachowski, my chief of staff, actually works on this issue, and so attention Mike Wachowski or myself, and it will get brought forward. But that was a request of my chief of staff as we were talking some issues before the Zoom on Friday. That was his request, because we're always going to be challenged.
Okay. Any other questions for Senator Victory? Anyone? Well, Senator, again, I know you have a tight schedule, but we really appreciate you taking time to come on this morning and visit with us. It looks like we've got about 56 folks on today for our annual meeting.
Well, have a good day, and I'm sure the good representative of Hood will have some good information for you too. And you know, she's a colleague on the House side, but also a neighbor. Our districts don't quite touch, but very close. So we're only separated by a few miles. So it's good to have
Good,
her
good.
voice heard too. So have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, Senator. And with that, we will move to Representative Rachel Hood. Representative Hood represents District 76, which is Kent and Grand Rapids area. Representative Hood serves on the House Ag Appropriations Committee. She's one of the 7 members on that committee. So good morning and welcome, Representative Hood. And we just called our meeting to order, our annual meeting of the Michigan Association. Looks like we have about 57 of our directors and staff on this morning.
Yeah, thank you. It's wonderful to be here with you this morning. Forgive me, I have some unexpected travel headed to Detroit today, so I'm taking a pause from that and joining you in my van. We're always moving. So Senator Victory really covered the wonderful news that we have to celebrate together this September. The governor signed into law a $3 million investment to help provide some base of funding for the conservation districts, the 75 conservation districts across the state. And I'm just incredibly excited about that. In my previous life, I served as the director of the West Michigan Environmental Action Council in Grand Rapids, serving the West Michigan region. And during that time, saw how important the conservation districts were, particularly in the rural edges of Kent County. And of course, I'm sure you experienced that across the state in your various 75 districts. Really key organization of trust that helps to build strength and help to spread the good word of best practices in farming. And in particular, I'm interested in the opportunities that we have to work together to protect our water resources. We know that our farmers are amazing partners in this work. We both need to, obviously environmentalists and the farming and rural communities alike need to work to protect this amazing freshwater resource that we have. I view conservation districts as a critical part of any success we might have in that effort. So one of the exciting things that we saw in some of the early discussions around ARPA is a $25 million investment in the watersheds that flow into Lake Erie, and an effort to help to reduce nutrient loading that impacts the algae bloom that we have seen over the last several years in Lake Erie. And I think those dollars will also have a positive impact on conservation districts and your partners. We're seeing increased activity in MAPE, the Michigan Agricultural Education program, and really wonderful partnerships as we move forward in this collective effort that it is going to require to address the algae bloom in Lake Erie, in the Saginaw Bay, and to prevent further algae blooms from happening across the Great Lakes as we know they are warming and will continue to warm into the future. You guys are in the trenches, making sure we have a response. So looking forward to continuing to work with you as I continue to serve as the MVC of appropriations for MDARD and the DNR. And happy to answer questions or have a dialogue if there's something we can explore further.
Great. Thank you, Representative Hood. Are there questions for Representative Hood? If you either raise your hand via the reactions or put a note in the chat box if you have a question. Representative Hood has continued to stay engaged here in, locally as well as her leadership in the House and the House Ag Appropriations
Hey
Committee.
Scott, how you doing?
She was part of a field day that
Oh,
we had an
yeah,
opportunity to share with her a few weeks ago. So do we have a question or comment? Someone trying to make a comment? Maybe they just had their mic on. Dan, do you see anything? Any questions or comments for Representative Hood?
I don't see any questions in the chat or any hands raised.
Well, Representative Hood, you were on.
Well, I'll
You-
take a moment to talk a little bit about the field day that we had. We brought together legislators from both sides of the aisle to look at how conservation districts and others are partnering to reduce nutrient loading, capture stormwater on site, and help to stabilize banks and important areas of the state, particularly through this lens related to transportation. In my work at WEMIAC, we partnered with the city of Grand Rapids to build out stronger stormwater management policies and find new funding for our the management of our stormwater assets, the stormwater infrastructure that moves water throughout our city. One of the ways we can improve our stormwater systems in urban, suburban, and rural areas is to capture stormwater as close as possible to where it falls. So working with our county road commissions and the Michigan Department of Transportation, as well as obviously local partners, very interested in how we expand that work across the state, in that continued collective effort to reduce the impact of nutrient loading to the Great Lakes.
And as Representative Hood said, said in her comments, she had a local field day with the Western Michigan Environmental Action Group. She was brought out as her colleagues from across the state. We had about 15 to 20 participants, and we looked at a project that had been funded by EQIP, as well as some 319 money to look at bank stabilization adjacent to a stream that was going through a culvert under a road locally. So it was a little chilly, but it wasn't snowing or raining, so we had a good day a couple of weeks ago. Are there questions for Representative Hood? Well, Representative, again, I know you're traveling and you, as always, have a busy schedule, but we, on behalf of the association, we thank you for your leadership in the House Ag Approps Committee. Dan and I, for the rest of you, Dan and I had an opportunity to meet virtually with the committee earlier this year, and then we met one-on-one with the individual members, including Representative Hood. And we know that when the full House met, the House Approps Committee met, Representative Hood introduced an amendment to fund us. It was turned down by party lines, but that was okay. We got it done eventually. So we thank you for your support and being one of our champions, Representative Hood. So we appreciate you taking time to visit with us.
Happy to.
Great.
Yeah, happy to be with you and happy to make sure your voices are heard in Lansing. Please feel free to be in touch anytime. Thank you all for your hard work and your good work.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Okay, we are ready to move forward with today's meeting. And the first item, I've asked Dan to read and review the rules for today's meeting, the rules of conduct, and those are on page 1 of your packet, and hopefully everyone has their packet. So Dan.
Great, thanks, Jerry. Folks, just going to give you a quick rundown of how things are going to operate today with regard to voting and just conducting business. So again, just to assure a quality virtual experience for everyone, we're asking that you remain muted unless you are called upon after raising your hand to provide a comment. This will help us keep down the background noise from wherever everyone may be joining us from today. So attendee general participation. The chat function will be used for questions and comments as well. So you please make sure to identify by your district name, followed by your communication. So both myself and Member Services Assistant Taylor Pack will be monitoring the chat box and providing the information to the assembly accordingly. We'll also, after doing roll call, be going through and renaming every person's name on the meeting. So it'll be prefaced by the name of your district first to designate you as the delegate, voting delegate. So voting in particular for any motions presented to the floor, the chat function will be used for motions and voting. The designated board member for each conservation district will identify by their district name, followed by their motion or vote. So the staff again will monitor the chat box and share the motion and tally the votes, providing the information to the assembly. For the officer elections and any resolution the body will be considering, there are official ballots that will be submitted, which you should have received when I sent out to everyone who's registered. But please send a message if you did not happen to receive it. I can share my screen as well real quick so you can see what that looks like. So you'll be required to put in your email and select which district that you are representing. And then there'll be an individual page for each resolution. And then there'll be the elections page for officers will be the last page that we submit your ballot. So please do not fill this out until you're instructed to do so later today during the assembly meeting. And all voting will be in accordance with the bylaws, with member districts each receiving one vote. Only districts with fiscal year 21 dues paid in full to their level of membership and with a designated member in presence may vote. Discussion on any resolution or motion comes only after a district has moved to adopt the resolution / motion and receives support. The vote is called after all discussion is finished. When amending resolutions, only be concerned with the paragraph which describes action desired by the association. Do not make negative motion. That is, if the assembly does not want to do something, no motion is necessary. The association does that which it is specifically directed to do. Motion to table. It is not proper to use this to stop debate or defeat a motion. Use this motion only to set aside an item of business temporarily to get more urgent business or to get additional information on the table question. If the assembly does not approve of something, it should be voted down. If it has merit, but the assembly needs to think about it longer, refer it to a standing committee or task force for study. Direct the committee as to what you want done, as well as when and how you want to report. According to the MACD bylaws, only directors from districts whose dues are paid in full will be allowed to participate via the chat box during the General Assembly. Staff may participate via the chat box only at the invitation of the delegate body. Late resolutions need a motion from a district member in order to be considered. Please be understanding the challenging circumstances of this virtual annual assembly and the limited methods of participation. This meeting's being managed the best way possible, so we ask you to please give a little bit of charity to allow all of us the opportunity for quality experience. And with that, I'll kick it back over to Jerry.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Are there questions regarding the rules of operation for today's meeting? Are there questions? Okay.
Jerry, for clarification, if somebody is using a different person's email, should they put in their own email? What happens if they don't have an email?
Dan, you want to respond to that?
You should be putting, you're referring to the ballot, Nancy?
Yes.
They should be putting in their own email address. Yeah.
Okay. Other questions or regarding the rules? Okay, hearing.
Wait a minute, Jerry, I'm sorry. If we have a director that doesn't have an email, and I guess I'm thinking of Carolyn Grace's question before the meeting started.
If there's a director without an email, I would say put your district administrator's email in, and then that way you can, the confirmation will go there to that person.
Okay, with that, unless there's other questions, I will ask your Secretary Treasurer, Nancy Sigsai, to do the roll call.
Okay. Yep. Dan is going to put up a list. And I'm going to go through it in alphabetical order. If you do have a voting delegate here, the first thing we need to know is that voting delegate's name. And then if there are other directors present, we also need to know those names. So Alcona, is there a delegate from Alcona? Alger. Allegan. Alpena Montmorency.
I'm sorry, I did not unmute. I simply typed in the chat box. I am Lynn Bradley from Alcona.
Okay. And you are a board member, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you're the only one present from your district?
The only director, we have 2 of our staff people that are also on the conference.
Okay, not a problem. Okay, I'll go. Anybody from Alger or Allegan that missed responding? Okay, Alpena Montmorency. Is there a delegate? Antrim Conservation District. Is there a delegate present? Aranac Conservation District.
David Schlenderer, and I'm the only director. That's double ER. Yep, thank you.
Thank you, David. Berry Conservation District. Bay Conservation District. Benzie Conservation District. Berrien County Conservation District.
Brandy Weiss Tenter.
Thank you, Brandy.
You're
Do you
welcome.
have any other board members present or just you?
I am not aware of anyone else on the call.
Okay, thank you. Blue Water Conservation District. Branch County Conservation District. Calhoun Conservation District. Cass County Conservation District.
Bernie Williamson, and I am a director.
Okay, as far as you know, you're the only one?
I think so.
Okay. Charlevoix Conservation District. Sheboygan Conservation District. Chippewa Loose Mac Conservation District.
Jane Bishop.
Good morning, Jane. Thank you. Are you aware of any other district directors who are on?
No, this is Mike answering for her because she's on her phone. So.
Okay. All right. Clare Conservation District. Clinton Conservation District.
Good morning, Andrea Polverento and Andrea, not Andrew, and Elaine Brown and Gary Borson are also on the call.
Thank you very much. Okay, I see something in the chat that indicates there's another director from Berrien. Okay, down to Crawford Roscommon. Delta.
Yes, we got Jack Harrett here. He's the chairman of our board. We also have Russ Ross and Bob Peterson that are part of our directors too.
All right, thank you very much. Dickinson.
Bill Rice is here.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Are you aware of anyone else?
No.
Okay.
Staff member.
Okay, thank you. Eaton Conservation District.
Morning, this is Debbie Montgomery, and I am a director, and there's no other directors on the meeting.
Thank you, Debbie. Emmett Conservation District. Genesee Conservation District.
Good morning. This is Danielle Nicewinder. Present.
Okay, and we would also put me in as an attending director. And Dan. Gladwin Conservation District. Gogebic Conservation District. Grand Traverse Conservation District. Gratiot Conservation District. Hillsdale Conservation District. Houghton Keweenaw Conservation District.
Good morning. This is Rachel Tarpey. And it's Tarpey. I believe Steve Shira is also on. Steve, are you here?
Rachel, does he have your name spelled right?
Tarp as in Paul, EY. And then Steve is Shira.
Okay, Huron Conservation District. Okay, I hear somebody talking, but I can't tell if it's a name.
Donna Fritz.
Thank you, Donna. Are you the only one from Huron? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Ingham Conservation District. Ionia Conservation District.
Betsy Kaline, Koehlein, and Ed Blythe. And then Melissa Eldridge and Alyssa Muchler for staff as well.
Okay, Iosco Conservation District. Iron Baraga Conservation District. Isabella Conservation District. Okay, there's a correction for the spelling of Betsy's last name. I think it's got an extra N in it in the middle, Dan.
I fixed it.
Okay. Jackson Conservation District.
Yeah, Steve Law representing Jackson, and I don't believe there's any other directors attending.
Thank you, Steve. Kalamazoo Conservation District. Kalkaska Conservation District.
Carol Hart. And I believe I'm the only one on.
Okay, thank you. Kent Conservation District. Lapeer Conservation District. Leelanau Conservation District. Lenawee Conservation District.
Got some feedback there. Might want to turn your speakers down. Blaine, yeah, you definitely have some bad feedback there. If you want to just type in the chat.
Okay, Livingston Conservation District. Macomb Conservation District.
I do see Clark is on. He's looking for the unmute button right now.
Okay. Okay, I said Macomb. Manistee Conservation District. Marquette Conservation District.
And then I fell really hard last winter.
Mason Lake Conservation District.
That time I started experiencing numbness.
Mecosta,
arm and hand. So that just really set me off.
Menominee Conservation District. Midland Conservation District. Misaki Conservation District.
Susan Schwager is here, and I would ask if there are any other directors from Misaki County to speak for yourselves. I don't know if anyone else is on.
Thank you, Susan. Monroe Conservation District.
Good morning. This is Connie Bellaquette from Monroe, and I'm not sure if there's anybody else on from Monroe. And I am a director.
Okay, thank you very much. Montcalm.
Oh, Danny McGarry.
Sorry, could you repeat that again?
Calling Danny McGarry, mobile.
Sounds like Danny McGarry.
Oh, I think there was someone was unmuted there. I think Tom might have been Tom.
Okay. So we said Montcalm, Muskegon, Newaygo,
Ned Hughes, and I believe Lori Larson, director, is also on.
Correct.
thank you. Oakland,
Patrick Costello, and I'm not aware of any others on.
thanks, Patrick. Oceana, Ogama, Ontonagon, Osceola Lake, Oscoda, Otsego, Ottawa, Presqu'île, Saginaw, Schoolcraft,
Tom White is here. I'm a director and I'm alone.
For Schoolcraft?
Correct.
Thank you.
thank you, Tom. Shiawassee,
Josh Cramble, director.
thank you, Josh. St. Joseph County,
Howard Avildsen, Director. It's Avildsen. Thank you.
okay, Tuscola, Van Buren Conservation District, Washtenaw Conservation District,
Good morning, Jill Donor here.
thank you, Jill.
Mhm.
Wayne Conservation District,
Susan Bristol, and I don't think there's anyone else.
okay. And Wexford Conservation District. Okay, was Dan able to pick up all the ones that had come in on chat?
I'm going through right now. I see I missed. CC Spagnola is also on. And then that's everyone, I believe.
Okay, let's go to the top of the list and then slowly scroll down. If there is a director on that whose name is not reflected, please let us know.
Nancy,
Yes,
Buzz Long is an executive director, not a director, right? In Leelanau?
Oh, correct, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Dan, Colin Crumbach shows in the participant list for Kent.
Oh, it probably was, as I was scrolling down, it must have moved him.
What was Colin's last name again, Jerry?
There we go, I brought it up.
Okay. All right. Let's go down to the bottom half of the list and make sure we've got everybody.
So I just wanted to clarify, Leelanau was not represented, but Buzz is present as a staff member.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. So just so everyone knows, I don't need to know staff members are present. So maybe we're just trying to track if other directors are present for voting purposes.
Okay, we probably need to move Tom over to the delegate column, Tom Long for Mason Lake. Okay, any other corrections that anybody sees before we move on? Okay, we will give people one more chance to add people later on. I'm not going to go through county by county. I'm just going to say, has anyone added to the list since we did the roll call? But at this point, I will turn it over to Jerry.
Okay, thank you, Nancy, and Dan for the roll call. We'll go back to our agenda, and the next agenda item is approve the 2021 General Assembly agenda, which is on page 3 of your board packet. So if you look at that, I will entertain a motion to approve the 2021 General Assembly.
This is Bernie from Cass County. I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you. I have a motion from Cass CD. Do I have a second?
Bill Rice Dickinson supports.
Okay, have a second. Are there any comments or additions or amendments to the agenda as presented? I think what we'll do, rather than going through and voting and having everybody try to post a yay or nay, if there are objections, please either raise your hand or ask for to your mic. Otherwise, I will assume it's approved. So are there any objections to approving the 2021 General Assembly agenda as presented? Okay, I'm seeing none. We'll consider it approved. Thank you. The next agenda item is the introduction of state council members and staff. And that list is on page 17 and 18 in your packet. I will not go through and mention everyone by name, but I just indicate on page 17 at the top of the page is your executive committee listed and their contact, and then the chairs and vice chairs, and in some incident, the region secretary treasurer, and those individuals are listed also on page 17 and 18. Again, this is your state council, the executive committee, and the state council members. That's a 14-member group, and that is the governing body of your state association. And then in addition, at the last entry on page 18 is the listing of the staff, including your executive director, our member services assistant, our bookkeeper, and a contract employee on one of our TA grants. So that is your state council members and your staff listing. In addition, I would like to recognize our partners that are on this morning. And I looked in the participant list and I see from MDARD, we have Christy Roman, who's a regional coordinator, and Ben Schramm, who's works hand in hand in the state office with the forestry program. So thank you for being on. And we have the president of the Conservation District Employees Association, Melissa Elridge, and Ionia District. And Melissa, Ben, and Christy, thank you for joining us this morning. With that, we'll move then to the next item, which is approval of the General Assembly meeting minutes from 2020. And those are listed on pages 4 and 5 in your packet. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to review the minutes from last year's meeting. And are there additions or corrections or edits to last year's annual business meeting, which was conducted virtually on December the 8th? Are there corrections or additions to the 2020 minutes of this organization? Again, I'll look in the chat. I see a comment. Okay, those are from Dan. Again, if you have a comment or a correction, please raise your hand and we'll or put it in the chat. I don't see comments or questions, so I will entertain a motion to approve the 2020 minutes of the MACD Assembly. I'll consider a motion, please. Anyone? Any director?
This is Carol Hart from Kalkaska. I move that the minutes be approved as presented.
Thank you, Carol. Second?
Bramble, Shiawassee.
Thank you. I have a motion and second to approve the minutes. Is there discussion? Again, we won't go through a roll call, but we'll to save, to be efficient. I'll ask for a vote if there are objections to approving the minutes as presented. Okay, hearing none, we will consider them approved. Thank you for the motion and second. So at this point, we will go to the financial report, but before we do that, Nancy, again, will ask for the participant list to be presented and see if there's any additions. So Nancy, I'll turn it over to you and then you can follow with the financial report.
Okay. Is there anyone that needs to be added to the list of attendees and delegates? Dan's going to put the list back up, and that will give you an opportunity to make any additions that need to be made. If you have any further additions or changes, please either put something in chat or raise your hand.
Nancy, it looks like we need a correction on Mason Lake. Change that to Tom Bell.
Thank you. Okay, I also see one that came into the chat for Houghton Kiwana, an additional board member. Okay, anyone else? Okay, so there's a spelling correction in Houghton. Okay, have we caught everything? If so, I will ask Dan to remove that and put up the balance sheet. The balance sheet is on page 23 in your.
Don't want to be upside down.
Pardon me?
I'm going to rotate it so you can see it.
Ah, okay. Okay, the balance sheet shows that we have 228,328 in assets. You will notice that almost all of that is in accounts. The checking account, the money market, and the Edward Jones. We are going to be talking more about the Edward Jones account later on in the meeting. So I bring your attention to the fact that it has $12,822.86. The money market account is where we put grant money when it comes in, and then it gets moved to the checking account as it is needed. The paycheck, the line number 40400 is one of the programs that was offered by the federal government for entities, including nonprofits. And it was,
That side of the mouse.
Pardon me?
Friendly reminder to keep your mics muted unless you are actively making a comment.
Okay, the amount that we borrowed was 21,316. That amount will be forgiven. And we've already gone through the paperwork to get it forgiven. We have not gotten final notice that that amount has been forgiven. Does anybody have any questions on the balance sheet? And I assume that Dan or Taylor is watching in the chat room to see if there are any comments that come in.
No comments.
Okay. Seeing none, we'll move to page 24, which is the profit and loss. There were some districts who specified money for the advocacy campaign. This is, but it shows how much came in dues, how much came in associate dues, grants that we received, you know, just different income that we got. There are none that I feel need to have a lot of explanation. I think that everyone is aware that we have a an Herb Family Foundation grant, which we are working with the southeast part of the state on. The expenses start out with the wages and the different categories of wages. And there's nothing, I don't think, a lot of the work on the Herb grant is being done with contract labor. So that's why the contract expense is at 118,000. A lot of that is, that's on page 25. Does anybody have any questions about the income or expense categories in the report? Okay. Not hearing any, I'll continue to the next page, which is printed sideways. And this is a budget by class for 2021. And it just shows the different general categories that we have. The first column you will see is that Small Business Administration loan, the PPP loan. And that, like I said, will end up being forgiven. Then the general category, the convention, the summer conference, workshops, herb grant, advocacy, legislative outreach. We had a few continued expenses from the Michigan Envirothon in this fiscal year, then the NACD grant, and then the total is on the left-hand side. Does anybody have any questions on that budget? Okay, then we will move on to the next. This is the budget.
Sorry, that was 21. Still, if you want to move on to 22.
Yes. Okay. The 22 budget shows our best projection of how the year is going to flow financially. And we're again using the same categories. We've dropped off the PPP loan because that is not going to be active in 2022. So this is the accounts that we expect to have active. The e-commerce column 10 is an e-commerce store that we're planning on activating and selling different things that have our new emblem on them. Dan, is there something more you want to say about e-commerce?
I don't have anything really to report on it other than, basically just been waiting for a moment when I have more capacity to implement it. But our hope is that we'll have a variety of different things that are interesting for our membership to purchase, as well as different resources down the road, hopefully things like educational pamphlets and things that can be used.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about the budget for 2022?
Yeah, Nancy, Steve Law here.
Yes.
Can you explain how you went about deciding how much to budget for advocacy and legislative efforts this year?
That was basically, Dan, do you have any input here or not?
So that was just an estimate based on what had come in through the past. And again, some people have included additional money for advocacy. So it's just a projected figure. My guess is that we probably will come in under budget on that income there. But yeah, it was just based on previous years.
Does that answer your question, Steve?
Well, yes, but I'm wondering if we're providing ourselves enough resources there for the effort that we need to put forth. Because I see it as, pretty critical this year. And I think our representatives indicated we need to do a better job of reporting our accomplishments.
So I should clarify, Steve, that this is just money that is recognized specifically for advocacy if people want to provide an additional amount of support with their dues. When we get into expenses, you'll see how much we're actually dedicating to our advocacy plan, which includes staff time specifically. So
okay. Very good.
Okay, so that's the income part, and then you're switching to the expense side. Okay, does that show you a little bit more?
Yeah, I think I see 12,000 there for advocacy, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Down at the bottom, but.
So yes, we do realize that we're going to have to keep the advocacy going. A lot of that is going to be with Dan doing outreach work as part of his, maybe outreach isn't the right, advocacy work. Okay, any other questions on the budget? Okay, if not, I will turn the microphone back over to Jerry. Jerry, you need to turn your microphone on.
Thank you, Nancy. Thanks for the budget review. We have 3 documents to approve. We have for the FY21, we have a balance sheet. We have profit and loss for this past year. And then we have the FY22 budget as presented. Are there questions or comments regarding, let's first address the FY21 information that was from the previous just completed year. Are there questions or comments regarding the FY21 finances? Questions or comments? So Nancy, I would suggest we do two motions. Let's first approve the finals of the FY21. So I would entertain a motion to approve the FY21 financials as presented.
This is Patrick Costello, motion to approve.
Thank you, Patrick. I'll entertain a second.
This is Bernie from Cass County. I second.
Thank you. So motion and second, motion from Oakland and second by Cass. CDs, are there questions, comments, or discussion? Okay, hearing none, I don't see anyone in the chat. We again, since there's no questions, we'll just approve by negative vote. Are there anyone voting negative to approve the FY21 financials? I see nothing, so we will consider them approved. Thank you. Now let's go to the FY22 budget as presented, the projected income and expenses. Are there questions or comments regarding the FY22 budget? Okay, I see no comments or questions. I'll entertain a motion to approve the FY22 budget as presented.
This is Bernie from Cass County. I make a motion to approve the FY22 budget as presented.
Thank you. Second?
This is Bellequette from Monroe, and I second the motion.
Thank you. So I have a motion to approve and second of the FY22 budget discussion. Okay, hearing none. Again, we'll by negative vote. Is there anyone that opposes? Okay, we'll consider the FY22 budget approved. So Nancy, thank you for reviewing and presenting the FY21 final budget and the proposed FY22 budget.
Thank you, Jerry.
Okay, with that, we will then move to the president's report. And let's see, Dan, I've got that, if I can figure out how to get that up. There you go. Thank you. Now I can bring it up.
I just give you co-host privileges, so you should be able to share your screen.
There we go. Okay. So I have it up on my screen and I will share the I'll share my annual president's report, the president's report in review. So again, good morning, directors, district staff, and partners. I'm pleased to have this opportunity to provide you an overview of the state of MACD for the year just completed, 2021. Before I share general comments regarding the past year, I want to share my thank you for your participation and engagement. First, thank you for taking time from your schedule to participate in the annual business meeting of your association, which we're currently conducting. And second, thank you for your engagement with your local legislators to secure operational funding for your district. It's been a great experience. The success would not have occurred without the grassroots work and persistence performed by you and your staff. And third, I just share a personal comment again regarding COVID. And if you or your family member, neighbor, fellow board member, or friend has experienced health issues caused by COVID. I hope each of you have had a successful recovery. As you know, your executive director, Dan Mulligan, started his tenure with MACD on January 4th of this year. And Dan has been a quick learner and proved to be an excellent selection to serve as your executive director. He's worked seamlessly with the executive committee and state council to implement the policies and procedures for MACD. Most importantly, Dan's previous experience as an aide to his Michigan State representative provided you and your organization, your association, with a seasoned voice and advocate for securing operational funds for all 75 conservation districts. Now, I'll share comments and provide an overview of MACD implementation of the just completed 2021 plan of work. A year ago, during the virtual annual meeting, you approved the 21 plan of work. And that plan of work was included in last year's annual meeting business packet, which you have in your files, and hopefully you can recover it. The outline for the 21 plan of work was listed on pages 10 and 12 of last year's business packet. In addition, a detailed summary is posted on pages 6 and 7 of the current 2021 business packet, which you have today. Now, hopefully I didn't confuse you jumping back and forth, but the details are on the current business packet that you have. And I just remind you that our plan of work mission statement is included in the packet, and it is, quote, working to strengthen Michigan's conservation districts through leadership, information, and representation, end quote. The 2021 plan of work includes 6 overarching components, and those are listed as state and federal advocacy, conservation partnerships, grants supporting conservation of Michigan conservation districts. Number 4, MACD outreach, membership value, and financial health. 5th, Michigan conservation education, and 6th, implementation strategies. So I'm going to take a few moments and just to review each of those components in terms of what you were able to accomplish and that your association was able to accomplish this past year. Starting with state and federal advocacy. When the Michigan legislature reconvened in January 21, your leadership team renewed conversations with key Senate and House legislators. The focus of those meetings with the Michigan legislators was to advocate for operational funds for your district. Your executive director scheduled virtual meetings with the House Ag Appropriations Committee on February 23rd. That virtual meeting with the committee of a whole was followed up with a one-on-one virtual meetings with 6 of the 7 committee members, including Chairperson Allard, as well as you heard from Representative Hood earlier today. That was followed with a virtual meeting with the House Appropriations Committee Chair, Tom Albert, and that was conducted. That one-on-one virtual meeting was conducted on April 27th. A follow-up to the legislative committee meetings was preparation and distribution to all districts, a set of talking points for use in local conversations with state legislators. Each district was encouraged to reach out to their clients and stakeholders and ask them to contact their respective state legislator or legislators. In addition to the meetings with these individuals, we mailed letters or called key legislators. And we conducted a virtual meeting on August the 16th with the Governor Whitmer's policy team. And during that meeting, we requested the governor's support of operational funding for Michigan conservation districts. As all of you are aware, MAC and the district advocacy resulted in the House and Senate action on September 24 to appropriate $3 million for operational funds for the 75 districts. And the governor signed that legislation, which, as you know, provides $40,000 for each district. Now, our challenge for budget year FY23, which is already underway, is convincing the legislature to fund districts at a minimum of 3 million going forward and hopefully more. The FY22 allocation includes 2 million of ongoing funding in MDOR's budget and 1 million of one-time American Rescue Funds. So our FY23 challenge requires the 1 million in one-time funding be replaced with ongoing funds. In other words, we need to get that one-time funding into ongoing funds in MDOR's budget. So that is our collective challenge. Again, I just to share that the governor signed the proclamation proclaiming July 17 as the 84th anniversary of Public Act 297, passed in the year 1937, which established Michigan's conservation districts. Just as additional comment, during the year, MACD representatives participated in the Governor's Council on Climate Solutions for Natural Working Lands. That work group started meeting virtually bi-weekly in April and concluded their work in early October. And the final report from the Working Lands work group was presented to the overall council, the governor's overall council, which included a recommendation for a Healthy Soils Act for Michigan and for state cost share funding for conservation practices at $25 million. The second component of the plan of work addressed our conservation partnership, and I refer to the Michigan Conservation Partnership as MCP and the Core Four. The Core Four is composed of the leaders of NRCS, MDARD, CEDAM, and MACD. And a major objective this year was to convene the group on a quarterly basis, which we were successfully in doing, except for this current quarter, and develop operational procedures and invite additional organizations to become members of the partnership. So contact was made with the director or administrator of the following entities: USDA Farm Service Agency, Michigan State University Extension Agriculture and Agribusiness Institute, Michigan State University Institute for Water Research, Michigan Department of Natural Resources, and Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy. Today, I'm pleased to report that all 5 organizations have accepted the invitation to join the MCP. An initial meeting with all 9 entities is scheduled for February, this upcoming February. The goals of the expanded partnership are first, to strengthen the conservation partnership and delivery system in Michigan. Second, to ensure Michigan's maintains healthy soils and land, clean and abundant water. And third, maintain sustainable food and agriculture for future generations. As the partners move forward, I anticipate the MCP will provide for a much stronger relationship among our state level partners for conservation and support of your conservation district. The third component of our 2021 plan of work addresses grant support for Michigan conservation districts. Your association is actively involved in supporting districts in regional and local grant proposals. Examples include participation in grant funding and project implementation in the Western Lake Erie Basin, Saginaw Bay initiatives, and most recent, the funded RCPP reforestation project located within districts in the Northeast Lower Peninsula. Other support is provided for the review of districts' applications for NACD technical assistance and urban agriculture proposals. Our next component addresses membership value and financial health. Included with the annual MACD request for membership dues was a detailed 4-page description listing the member benefits for your district. Now, I'm not going to attempt to review that 4-page document, but I'll just comment. Prior to your district voting to renew the membership dues, I do hope you reviewed the 4-pager and the company table listing the membership benefits. hopefully you noted a major change to the dues structure was the addition of a platinum membership at $1,300 and an increase in the bronze level membership from $250 to $300. These changes were recommended by the MACD Finance Committee and were approved by the State Council during their June meeting. I will emphasize there are multiple benefits and discounts designated for platinum and gold level members that are not available to the silver and bronze level members. An additional benefit implemented on October 1st of this past year is for all district directors. A benefit for all district directors is a non-registration fee for MACD virtual events such as conferences and training, and we implemented that with our annual conference. I do have good news as well as maybe some not so good news regarding a summary of our FY21 membership status. First, the good news, all 73 functioning districts paid their dues. 34% of the 73 functioning districts understood the value of being a gold member, and 25 districts paid dues at that level. The perhaps not so good news is that 6 districts renewed at the silver level, 42 at the bronze level, and our 2 CDs remained as non-functioning. Bronze membership increased from 33 to 41 members when compared to the previous FY20. So your membership dues for FY21 totaled $41,250, as you saw in the budget that Nancy presented. This was down from the previous year, which was $42,950. But I would say, given the FY21 was a full year of COVID, the overall dues income is in fact commendable. And I would just remind you that a summary of the 2021 district membership status is listed on page 22 of the meeting packet, today's meeting packet. I want to comment that I'm pleased to share that to date, the FY22 member dues that have been received are up significantly in comparison to FY20 and 21. So thank you. And I'll remind everyone that due to not contracting with an external advocacy group that we had done in previous years, and the president of COVID, the State Council did not, I emphasize, did not request a special assessment to support advocate issues. So in order to maintain a positive balance in the MACD administrative accounts, your executive committee, with the approval of the State Council, was successful in securing a second appropriation from the Federal CARES Act through the Payroll Protection Plan in the amount of $21,316. And that compares to the previous Payroll Protection Plan offset that we secured in FY20 for $20,100. And those funds were used to offset payroll expenses for staff. Fifth component of our plan of work addresses conservation education. And hopefully, no surprise to you, COVID had a major impact on your association's ability to deliver face-to-face educational activities. However, a virtual director of training webinar was held for new and continuing directors. And we had more than 30 directors participate in that webinar. And again, there was a no registration fee charged for that training session. As described on page 7, the Education Committee was reoriented due to the lack of funding for the environmental program. And State Council member Carol Hart, director in Kalkaska, agreed to lead the Education Committee to focus on conservation education, specifically youth education. And her committee hosted an informal informational session during the MACD's fall conference. And that session highlighted available educational materials available for districts to conduct youth education programs. The final component of our 2021 plan of work was titled Strategies. And implementation of the plan of work is achieved through the standing and ad hoc committees with approval of the 14-member state council. And as I mentioned earlier, during the past year, the state council met virtually each quarter. Going forward to the current and upcoming year, a list of the MACD committees is printed on pages 19 and 20 in your business meeting packet that you have. The list includes the name of the committee chair, the members of the committee, and the committee charge. Now, I want to add that the list of committee chairs and the committee members is not static. For an example, last week, the president of CEDM, Melissa Elridge, provided an updated list of staff members to serve on MACD committees. Those updates are not reflected in the committee members listed on pages 19 and 20, but we obviously have made pencil and ink updates to that list. In addition, Jackson CD Director and Region Chair, Vice Chair, Steve Law, chairs the Legislative Committee. And I'd ask you to make that change on page 19, indicating that Steve chairs the Legislative Committee. So please note the chair position for the Development Committee is open, and we're looking for a director to step forward to take the chairship of the Development Committee. Finally, I would just say if there's a committee you're interested in being a member, inform your regional chair or a member of the Executive Committee, and we would be most happy to include you on our standing or any ad hoc committees. And I would just also remind regions 2, 6, and 8 that is prior to the end of December, your region is required by MACD bylaws to elect or re-elect a regional chair, vice chair, and option for a secretary treasurer as your new regional chair, vice chair, and secretary treasurer will take effect January the 1st. And if you've already accomplished that, please let me know. If you have questions or comments regarding this overview, I ask you to enter your remarks in the chat box. And I would just say that while you are doing that task, let me restate our mission that I shared at the beginning of our report. And our mission is, quote, working to strengthen Michigan's conservation districts through leadership, information, and representation. So that is where we are. But we need to get to the future. And my future vision is, quote, MACD and districts are recognized as the conservation leaders for Michigan. That's really where we want to be. So thank you for all that you do for your district and for MACD. With that, Dan, are there any questions or comments in the chat box?
Not at this time, Jerry.
Okay, so thank you, and we will return to our agenda, which is we'll go to bylaw resolution review and consideration, and we have one resolution that is in your packet, and I ask Vice President Elaine Brown to take the microphone and camera.
Good morning, everyone. We have one resolution that was acted on. Dan, if you would put that up for people to take a look at, but basically what we're asking for is an amendment to Article 12 of our bylaws, which is the endowment fund. Nancy mentioned that that's the $12,800 fund that we have, we show on our balance, profit and loss. Over the years, that money's been invested with A.G. Edwards and has gained very, very little revenue return because it's been required to be invested like a governmental agency. But MACD is not a governmental agency, it's a nonprofit organization. So in the resolution, you'll see the rationale there for we've not earned much money. Our Article S that we look to earn sufficient income, and therefore we're proposing a change in language to 12.17, and I'll read it to you here. So the language reads, the managers, who are the president, vice president, and secretary treasurer of MACD, shall be limited to investing the cash principal of the MACD endowment fund in savings accounts, certificates of deposit, bills, notes, and other investment securities, which are, okay, this is what it was previously, either insured by or repayment of which is guaranteed by the government of the United States of America. So that limits you to like CDs and those sorts of things. Our proposed change is that those investments which are deemed to be a risk a reasonable person would take, as recommended by the MACD Finance Committee. So what we're asking for is the ability to invest those in other secure, but maybe a little bit more risk than government-backed funds, so that we can gain revenue here, grow this fund to be of benefit to our organization, because we're then able to take the revenues and use those as we deem appropriate to advance projects and efforts that we have. So that's the proposed amendment that we changed that one line to read, deemed to be a risk a reasonable person would take, as recommended by the MACD Finance Committee. That Finance Committee is made up of members beyond the Secretary, Treasurer, and President, and that will do their research and make recommendations that then the whole State Council will recommend and managers will then take action from. Any questions or comments on this proposed? Oh, so this was the Executive Committee acted on this and was approved by the committee on November 5th. It was then taken to the State Council, and at the State Council meeting, the State Council also approved this amendment to bring forward to the full assembly for a vote. Jerry, I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, do you have any questions for Elaine regarding the resolution 2021? Questions or comments regarding the resolution? I want to pause to make sure if someone's trying to comment, that they have that opportunity. Okay, I don't see anyone commenting. Elaine, do you want to make a motion to approve the resolution?
Sure, I would move that we approve this resolution as presented for action.
Okay, I have a motion by Elaine to approve the resolution as presented. I have support.
Support, Andrea from Clinton.
Seconded.
Thank you, Andrea. So I have support from Clinton. Discussion.
Point of clarification, Jerry, that the resolution will be on the ballot too, so.
Yes, we'll do this. We will do this by everyone having an opportunity to vote. So, but before we do that, have any comments or questions? Okay, hearing none. Dan, do you want to put up the ballots so individuals, directors can vote?
So this, again, just a friendly reminder to folks, I'll send a link that the ballot is to be submitted here shortly. Once we get to officer elections, you can submit the entire ballot at once. But if you take a look at the link there, again, this is only for your voting delegate, 1 vote per district. And if you were not here for the roll call and have joined us late, please send us a message so we can recognize you that you're present. So if you follow the link, you just have to, I'll show you a quick look. Again, you'll have to put an email address in. If you do not have an email address, you can use your district administrator. Pick your district from the list, put in the name of your delegate, and then you'll see the first resolution for consideration right here as the first item. Scroll to the bottom, mark your decision. And then when we consider late resolutions, we'll be discussing that shortly. And then again, you'll see the ballot for officer elections as well. So with that, I think we're ready to move on to the call for late resolutions.
So we have one late resolution that was submitted by Dickinson County. And this is a resolution to request that the Michigan Association of Conservation Districts request updating of the Open Meetings Act. I can go ahead and read this, and I don't know if you have a copy, Dan, to put up.
I will pull it up here shortly.
Okay. So this resolution came last week, and it reads, it was submitted by Dickinson County, whereas the Michigan Association of Conservation Districts is an established association of 75 conservation districts in the state of Michigan. And whereas conservation districts are local units of the state government and their boards of directors conduct the business meeting of the districts in accordance with the State of Michigan Open Meetings Act. And whereas the COVID pandemic commencing in early 2020 caused the curtailment of conservation district board meetings face-to-face. And whereas the state authorized declarations of emergency by counties across the state permitting conservation district boards to meet using virtual methods such as Zoom. And whereas such virtual meetings have helped minimize possible exposure to COVID by board members, staff, and citizens calling in by phone or video to observe or be part of the board meetings as required by the Open Meeting Act. And whereas the continued impact of the pandemic has been very irregular across the state, causing many counties to rescind their declarations of emergency. And whereas conservation district boards in impacted areas of the state where the declarations of emergency have been rescinded have had to hold meetings outdoors and well spaced to maintain personal safety of board members, staff, and others in accordance with public health recommendations. And whereas the Open Meetings Act does not address any circumstances approaching the situation created by the ongoing pandemic, therefore be it resolved. The Michigan Association of Conservation Districts does hereby urge the legislature of the state of Michigan to consider adjusting the language of the Open Meetings Act to allow for language permitting such virtual meetings needs as has been experienced since 2020, while maintaining transparency of such proceedings in public access, participation, and scrutiny. So the language that the resolution, the resolve part is what we would be sharing forward with our legislators, as we talked about a little bit earlier this morning. So with that, I guess my suggestion would be that we turn it over to Dickinson County, since you all put the resolution together. If you would like to add anything at this time, I think that that would be appropriate.
Thank you, Elena. For me, Bill Rice, Chair of the Dickinson Board. We at Dickinson County has, during this past year, of course, been doing what we said we were doing through the resolution. Our local declaration of emergency was rescinded by the county board in July, and they have no indication of any interest whatsoever in reestablishing that. Well, the new varieties of COVID that have been coming around Dickinson County has been the hotspot in the Upper Peninsula. And I have several board members who will totally resist meeting face-to-face until it is really safe to do so. During the summer and early fall, we've been able to meet outside, but as the weather has turned on us, we've had no alternative because we are co-located with the NRCS. They are not opening the office for us. It's the only place that we could possibly keep clean. Public places like the library room would be after they've been open for business all day, and they consider that totally unsafe. So at this point, the only manner by which we can actually conduct the business is outdoors in front of our office in the parking lot. And we will having our next board meeting in 3 days from today. Fortunately, the weather doesn't look to be too bad for the Upper Peninsula, but we're also going to utilizing the a month opportunity to meet, allowed by the operating grant. We're going to try to hold every 2 months through the wintertime as needed. And we recognize that what we're proposing here is a very long-term process. It doesn't happen quickly, and it has to be very carefully thought out and considered and worked on. But we thought it'd be worthwhile to try to put the association as a muscle behind taking the action to consider variations on how we might be able to continue to meet safely when and as needed. But that obviously maintain absolutely the transparency and public scrutiny that is essential for successful business meetings. So that's what's behind our request for association support to urge the Open Meetings Act to be adjusted. We are co-located with the NRCS, and that since they have not opened up any offices, that is what has handicapped us to trying to have to meet, in a variety of fashions. And outdoors is the only way we can actually do it, and still try to have encouraging the public to either come see us and meet with us and talk with us, or at least to have a call-in option as well. So we're trying to try to publicize that as much as possible across all the media we can. But we think the association can be beneficial in trying to carry this forward. So that's what prompted us to put the resolution in.
Thank you, Bill. Are there questions for regarding the resolution, or questions for Bill and Dickinson's district? Questions or comments regarding the resolution?
Do you want to get a motion first, Jerry, to see if
Yeah,
people want to take it up?
I do, but I wanted to see if anyone had a question for Bill while he had the mic. Okay, Bill, do you want to make a motion to approve the resolution as presented?
I would so move.
Okay, I have a motion from Dickinson to approve the resolution as presented. I'll entertain a support.
This is Cass County. I support. Bernie?
Okay, thank you. So I have a motion to approve and support. Additional discussion.
Go ahead.
Jerry, this is Delta.
He's muted.
Go ahead, Delta. I'm sorry. Thank you.
No problem. I was wondering if it's okay with Dickinson. This is being discussed in the legislature right now. If there would be an addition or an amendment to it to make it just a little stronger, that also MACD pursues the point about what Dickinson wants, if that gets through, that there's also in the verbiage that when a director is gone, we have a couple directors now that go south for the winter, so they can always virtually call in or listen, but they can't vote. So that's one of the things being discussed on the state level, that if there's a change, then the local unit of government, if that individual is not there, they can also come in virtually, but they can vote. So that would be really sweet if that was added in.
Okay, do you want to make a motion to amend? Or Bill, did you want to say something? You're muted.
We felt it important at least to keep this as a general comment. I fully agree. And we actually have a member or two that travel, do the same thing in the wintertime. So that's all a part of what I consider has to be part of the review for doing this. And we weren't particularly concerned about getting particular specifics, but to simply encourage the action to get going. If they are actually talking about it or have some action underway, we simply want to support that and try to be a part of it, but not necessarily to have to encumber a resolution with a lot of detail at this point. But I certainly share the sentiment, Jerry.
Okay, thank you for the response. And Delta, do you want additional discussion, or do you want to amend the resolution?
Okay, Delta will withdraw.
Okay.
The other thing real quick though, too, is there would still have to be a quorum. What I'm hearing from the state level through Senator McBroom, there would still have to be a quorum present. And as long as a quorum is present, then the individuals could call in and vote. So those are just some of the things, maybe if MACD is going to pursue this in a negotiation, you can try to get that in. But we'll withdraw our thing to have it so we don't complicate the resolution.
Okay,
Just as a comment too, you know, pending what happens with this resolution, if it's passed, you know, we'll certainly share it with all the relevant legislators and have some communications to that effect to show that, hey, this is something that's important to our membership. And then we'll move forward with an immediate advocacy plan on it.
okay, good. Other discussion regarding the resolution as presented? Okay, Delta, thank you for your comments. Bill, thank you, and your colleagues and Dickinson for preparing the resolution. Again, we'll do the voting on this on the ballot that Dan showed you earlier. So a little different how we do it, but so we have two items now, a resolution 2021 and a follow-up resolution that we'll vote on by ballot. So are there additional late resolutions to be presented? Any district have an additional, another or additional late resolution for presenting? Okay, I hear none, so we will move to election of officers. Back by bylaw, I appointed a committee back in the summer to handle elections. That committee, a 5-member committee, those members are Susan Bristol Wayne, Deborah Montgomery Eaton, Bill Rice Dickinson, Steve Wyckoff Montcalm, and Patrick Costello Oakland. And Patrick Costello and Oakland agreed to chair that committee. So at this point, I'll turn the microphone and camera over to Patrick. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Jerry. Can you hear me? No. Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, we
Okay,
can.
good. Sorry. Thank you, Jerry. Let's see, we have on pages 15 and 16 of your packet our messages from our candidates. And if you haven't taken a look at them, I'll give you a quick minute to take a look at them. And then let's see, I think Dan, you'll bring up the ballot for election. And once you take a look and review the comments from the candidates, we can we'll give you about 5 minutes to make your votes. And I pretty much I think that's the procedure. Am I missing anything, Dan or Jerry?
No, you have it correct.
Okay.
Patrick, I might suggest in case someone is not able to access the book, perhaps Dan, if you want to take and just put the candidates' comments up on the screen for a minute or two, maybe for about 1 minute per.
Good thought. Thank you, Jerry.
Just bringing it up right now.
Dan, I'm not a speed reader, but you may, there you go. Thank you.
You beat me to it, Jerry.
And so Patrick and Jerry, so you're aware, I do have a slide that has a timer on it. So when we move on to voting, we can put the timer up and take a brief break for everyone to cast their ballots.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Perfect.
I will wait for your cue and I'll go ahead and bring that up whenever we're ready.
I'll just give another half a minute here. We should be good, Dan. Thank you.
At this point now, if everyone can go ahead and fill out your ballots. If you have issues accessing it, please let me know and we'll go from there. Reminder again that only one director voting delegate should be voting.
Hopefully everyone's cast their ballots.
Just gonna be a minute here to review. So we're just verifying, just so everyone knows, to make sure that all the ballots that have been cast are only from delegates accordingly. And I have the results. I'll be sharing them here with Patrick to read accordingly.
So Dan, before Patrick announces the elections, we have the two resolutions we need the results of. And so if we can do those in order.
All right, and Patrick, I just sent you the results of those in the chat, and as well as our officer elections.
Where's that? Okay, in the chat here, where do I find them?
So if you look toward the bottom, there'll be a button there that says chat.
Chat, okay.
Click that, it'll bring it up and you'll see two direct messages.
Chat over here. Oh, is that it? Is that it? I apologize, Dan, I'm not, oh, okay, chat.
So I see Steve's question there now. Sorry, I missed that, Steve. So we have 31 responses in terms of our quorum.
Curious about how many districts we needed to have represented and how many we actually had.
By bylaws, and I was just getting ready to put that in the chat, by bylaws, a quorum is a majority of those present for the meeting. So there is no, of the 75, there's no requirement that you have whatever, more than half of that. It's by bylaw, by the majority of those present.
Right, okay, I understand.
So Patrick, if you're still having some issues finding where the chat is, I can just read them off.
Okay, and would you, because I'm seeing, yeah, I'm looking here and I see the messages to Jerry regarding the resolutions, but I'm not seeing the one here. So if you would, Dan, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
So our resolution 2021-1, the proposed amendment to the MACD bylaws, Article 12 Endowment Fund, passed accordingly. The late resolution 2021-2 requesting an update to Michigan Open Meetings Act passed accordingly. For officer elections, for president, Gerald Miller. For vice president, Elaine Brown. And for secretary treasurer, Nancy Siskey.
Thank you, Dan. And congratulations to our officers. And I'm sure there's challenges for them ahead. And I also want to just thank the other committee members that helped put this together. So, and I guess if there might be any comments from our elected officers at this time, I don't know if that'd be appropriate.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. I can just comment. I look forward to continuing to serve as your president for the next 2 years. And so thank you, everyone, for your support. Lane, you want to comment?
I thank you also for your support. I appreciate the effort that Steve made to run, and I think he's a great candidate too. And I look forward to working with him on the legislative committee and moving forward to keep our conservation district strong. And I especially appreciate everyone's effort at the local level to work with their legislators and their state legislators to keep this moving, because it's, as Senator Victory said, it's going to be a heavy lift. So we got our foot in the door. Now we got to get that door wider open so that we can build a bigger and brighter future for all of us. And I thank you for that.
And I agree with Elaine's comments. I look forward to working with everyone moving forward. And there was no lose in this election. Everybody was a valid candidate. Thank you very much for your support.
Okay, Patrick?
I thank you, and I guess I'll turn it over to you. Again, congratulations to our officers.
Okay, Patrick, thank you and your committee for working to arrange for the elections of our officers going forward. So the next agenda item is other business. Are there other business items to come forward for the 2021 assembly of your association? Other business comments or business items? I don't see anything in the chat. I don't see anyone raising their hand. So I think we have completed our business in 2 hours and 2 minutes. So thank you. So again, my thanks to all of you for the work you've done this past year to garner that $3 million to support your district at 40,000. We, as Senator Victory and Representative Hood said, and as my colleagues on the exec committee just indicated, we have some heavy lifting to do. We will do it. We will engage, and we will start next month. And Dan has already outlined, Dan, our executive director, has already outlined some activities. There's a legislative calendar in your board book, and we will start meeting. Fortunately, the same leadership in the House and the Senate will be in place during the upcoming year until elections in November of 22. So we will be able to work with those committees and leaders on committees and leaders in the legislature. They know us, but we have to keep sending the message to not only them, but the challenge is continue to talk to your local legislators, and we will have materials for you to help you and assist you in communicating with your local legislator or legislators. So unless there are other comments, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the 2021 Assembly of the Michigan Association of Conservation Districts.
Motion to adjourn, Andrea from Clinton.
Thank you, Andrea. Support?
Seconded, Tom White Schoolcraft.
Thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you and have a great day, and best wishes for the upcoming holiday season. Be safe, be well, and enjoy the season. So again, thank you.
Thank
We're
you, Jerry.
adjourned.
Thank you, Dan.